There were two brothers, famous brothers, in the days of about 250 years ago, in the time of the first Rebbe of Chabad. They were holy, holy, holy people. One of them was called Reb Elimelech of Lezhinsk, and the other one was Rabbi Zusha of Anipoli. They were two brothers. All right. Now it so happened that there was a man that he worked in jewelry, gems, and he got a really good offer to buy a bunch of gems from somebody, that it was an inheritance or whatever. The person passed away, whatever the story was, and his children wanted to get rid of these gems, and they were selling them at a very, very inexpensive price, maybe half off. They didn't understand gems, and they were willing to sell them. So this fellow found out about it, and he went and he asked his Rebbe Zusha of Anipoli. That was his Rebbe. And his Rebbe Zusha said, "Don't go. Don't go. It's not going to be good. You're going to lose everything." And so he goes back home, and his wife said, "Aren't you going to get ready? Aren't you going to pack your bags?" He said, "No, no, no. I went to Rav Zusha. He told me not to go." So his wife said, "Did you explain to him this deal? I mean, you explained them all the details. I mean, we have a lot of details here. We've checked this thing out very seriously, very thoroughly. This is a real big deal." He said, "No, no, 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 no." The Rebbe said, "No." He said, "Listen." His wife said, "You go back to the Rebbe and you tell him all the details and tell him that I forced you to go. I'm forcing you to go." So he went back to the Rebbe. He said, "Listen, my wife is forcing me to come. Please, she wants me to explain, just for the sake of, shalom bayis, that there should be peace in my home. Let me explain everything." We checked it out, and we checked the people out, and we checked everything out. And it's not a trick, and it's going to work. And the Rebbe said, "No, you shouldn't go." So he went back home. He said, "I explained the whole thing to the Rebbe, exactly what you said." He said, "No, I'm not going." So she said, "Well, go to his brother, Rebbe Elimelech of Lezhinsk." He said, "I can't do that. I can't do that. I just went to the Rebbe, and he told me, no, I can't go to. That's just ridiculous. Let's just forget the whole thing. I'm not going to go. Somebody else will make the money. We have enough money. We've got money. What do we need?" His wife said, "Listen, you go to Rebbe Elimelech. The first thing is you tell him that you were by his brother, and his brother gave you advice, and your wife is driving you crazy, and she wants Rebbe Elimelech to give you, if he agrees." So he said, "Oh, I'm so ashamed. I can't do that." She said, "Okay, if you don't want to go, then just don't come back home. I'm telling you, this thing is a sure thing, and it's going to work. I have a premonition." His wife said, "What do you got to lose? The worst thing is he'll say no." Okay. So he goes to Rabbi Elimelech Lezhinsk, and he says, "Rabbi Elimelech, listen, I was by your brother. He gave me advice. My wife says I shouldn't take his advice. She's forcing me. She's driving me crazy. She said I should come to you and tell you what your brother said, and see if you agree. Please don't get angry at me. Please, I want to listen to your brother." So he said, "Well, what are you talking about? What's the question?" So there's a person. He explained the whole thing. He wants to sell jewelry, and it's a really good deal, and we checked it out from all different sides, and it's a surefire thing. There's nothing that's going to go wrong, and these people are honest. And my brother said not to go. He said, "Yeah, yeah." "And you come to me?" "Yeah, my wife." She says, "Well, I say you should go. You should go." He said, but I mean, your brother said not." Because my brother saw up to the river, and I saw after the river. So he said, "Okay." So he goes back to his wife. His wife said no. He said, "I should go." His wife said, "He said you should go." He said, "Yeah." "You told him that his brother said not?" He said, "Yeah." His wife said, "Listen, so what did he say? I mean, he was willing to go against his brother?" "No, he said that his brother only saw up to the river, and he says after the river." "So what does that mean?" "I don't know." Okay, so he takes a lot of money, like let's say $1 million, and he is going to go and buy these jewels. The jewels are worth like $3 million easily. And so he gets into this, and it's a beautiful day. In order to go there, he has to cross this big sort of river. But there's this barge that goes over the river. It's no problem. And so by the time he gets there, it's getting dark. He gets on the barge, and the barge is going, and everything is just really wonderful. And all of a sudden, they're almost reaching the other shore. And suddenly, all of a sudden, the skies get like dark, tremendously black, and this wind starts blowing, and torrential rain comes down, and the barge is pulled out back to the middle again, and there starts like these whirlpools and these crazy things, and the whole barge sinks. And the current of the river is so strong, it pulls all the clothes off of our hero. Everything. Loses his money, loses his shoes, loses everything. And it's already nighttime, and there's no point for him. He's just trying to swim for his life. He happens to be that he grabs onto some sort of a box or something like that that fell down, and the river's sweeping him down, and he gets caught by like a branch of a tree happens to be overhanging, and it stops him a little bit, and he grabs onto the branch, and he pulls himself on shore, and he's saved, but he's naked. He's just totally, he has nothing whatsoever, and it's cold outside. It's freezing cold. And he's alone. And so he sees a house in the distance, and he runs to this house, a really large house. He runs to the house. He sees there's a mezuzah on the door. So he's pounding on the door. Who knows? It's 10 at night, 11 at night. Pounding on the door. He says, "Please don't open the door. Just throw me a blanket. I'm freezing. Please save me." He sees a little hole opens up, and the door opens up. A man comes and throws a blanket over and says, what happened to you? What? He sees the guy is a Jew. That opens the door, the Jew, and the Jew looks out. He sees a Jew. What happened to you? He's shuddering. He can't even talk. He takes him and warms him up. Says, "What happened?" Oh, I left out a part of the story, by the way. I left out a part, but this won't wreck the story. The part of the story that I left out was before he left, Rabbi Elimelech that told him he should go, he said, "I understand that you are a mohel. You know how to do circumcisions." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, what happens when a child bleeds?" He says, "No, I don't. I asked the family if there's any danger whatsoever, and it's a really big problem." He said, "Well, listen, I have a cure for it." Rabbi Elimelech says, if a child bleeds because of circumcision, he has hemophilia or whatever, I'll tell you a very simple way to stop the bleeding. You take homemade things. He takes a little bit of coffee, a little bit of this, a little bit of things that are found in the home, and you press this place on the child's hand, on his foot, and it'll stop the bleeding. You got it? He says, "Yeah, I have it." So what's the point? He doesn't know. Okay, back to our story. Here's this poor freezing man just being taken in from being total naked. That is revealed to all the elements outside, and he's freezing, and he's cold, and he says, "What happened to you?" He said, "Oh, I was on a ship, and the ship sank, and I had money. I lost everything. I should have listened to Reb Zusha. I shouldn't have gone." He said, "You did?" Who's Reb Zusha? Henry Poli? He says, "Yes, he told you not to go. I shouldn't have." So why did you do a crazy thing like that? Reb Zusha, the holy Reb Zusha, told you not to go, and you went. You went. Why did you go? He says, "Because I asked his brother. My wife forced me to ask his brother, Reb Elimelech, and he told me I should go." He said, Rabbi Elimelech of Lazinsk. He said, "Yeah, he's really a holy person." He said, they tell me that Rabbi Elimelech of Lazinsk, he's a very expert mohel. He knows how to do circumcisions." He said, "Yeah, I also happen to be." I said, "Oh, you really?" "Yes." He said, "Listen, the rich man of the house, the owner of the house says, 'Listen, I got a big problem. My problem is that my sons have hemophilia or something, whatever. We circumcised one, and he died from the bleeding didn't stop. It just hemorrhaged, and and now I have two sons, and I can't perform a circumcision on them. I don't know what to do, and I'm afraid. One is already 9 years old, one is already 11 years old, and I'm afraid." So all of a sudden he remembers what Rav Zusha, what Rav Elimelech told him. He said, listen, before I left Rav Elimelech, he gave me a cure to stop bleeding. He says, really? How do I know it works? He says, Rav Elimelech gave it. He says, you know what, let's do like this. He makes a little cut on his finger, and first of all, he makes this concoction, what he tells him to make, a little bit of coffee, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of ginger, he puts it on his finger. It's starting to bleed. He puts the stuff on it, and he presses on this place, presses on that place, or he tells the owner of the house, press, this, and he does it, and the bleeding stops. He says, listen, maybe it'll work. Let's see. So he brings the 9-year-old boy, and they pray, and and he has this stuff ready, and he circumcises him, he starts bleeding, and he puts the stuff on, and it stops it. And he brings the other boy, and also the same thing, the circumcision, and everybody is just tremendously anxious. He puts this medicine, whatever that he made, and it stops the bleeding. And the rich man says, I don't believe it. You saved me. My 2 boys are this. I want to reward you. He says, how much money did you lose I lost $1 million. And if you would have bought those gems, how much could you have made? He said, I would have made like $3 million. He says, I want to give you 10 million. I want to give you $10 million. 10 million, whatever it is, gilden, whatever, gilder. Telling you saved my. Suddenly he realized what Rabbi Elimelech said. My brother understood only to the river, and I understood after the river. And so it is too with us, Jewish people. We are having terrible problems, difficulties, tragedies, losses, confusion, frustration, like the fellow that lost everything when he went over the river. But the Rebbe gave us an elixir, and that's Chassidut. And with that elixir, is we're going to cure all of the difficulties of the Jewish people and all the blood that's flowing. And Mashiach, who is the source of all this Chassidut, the Rebbe, will wake up all of the Jews in the world, and the whole entire world will be happy when they know what the truth is, and they feel that life is good, and that this world is good, and that God is good. That's why we need Mashiach now. Have a good Shabbos with Mashiach now, and I hope to see you all on Sunday, 8:15. Shalom uvracha.
Yep. And we're changing the clock, so it'll be 5
good.
earlier for us.